Hey, folks. Hi, we're live. Welcome to Murder Hobo Inc. I'm Dave. I'll be your host for tonight because tonight is our Iron DM Socium project episode that we got going on tonight. If you're new here, welcome. So if you'd like, follow us on Twitter. You can follow us at mhoboinc on Twitter and follow us here on YouTube. Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. That way you can get all the info as soon as it comes out. So tonight I'm here with our cabal of DMs. This is part 2 for this month. The other crew was last week or the week before last. So I think last week. But so the Socium project is a year-long project that we started in January, and it's going out through the entire year. We're creating a world, and come December, we're going to start running adventures out of the world. So it's a pretty exciting project. These guys have been working hard on it for, 6 to 7 months now. So, it's just coming along great. Tonight, as we get into the discussions, the map will come up. You can see the fruits of all their labors out there. Each of these guys are going to go over, and they're going to explain the different features. Tonight's topic is trade. So if you saw the last Socium episode, it was quite hysterical because they had a lot of, like, even before the episode aired, they were like through emails making, back alley deals and stuff like that as far as trade. So anyway, thank you for coming tonight. Tonight, I'm joined with John, Spencer, and Ian. And like I said, these are our DMs. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Oddfish Games, who are best known for Adventure Sense. They're also known for How to RPG with Your Cat, the Shine System, if you want to learn how to write better than Frank. And they got a Kickstarter campaign that's coming up. So check them out at Oddfish Games. Our other sponsor is Pirate Dog Dice. They make great dice. They're a little backlogged right now. I mean, because, hey, everybody wants them, and yeah, life happens. But anyway, Carrie's getting caught up, so eventually she'll make her way to you. So if you want to put in an order or whatever like that, yeah, she'll be glad to hook you up. It may take a little while, but she'll get to it. And let's see. Swag. We've got swag. We've got t-shirts. We've got koozies, the shower curtains, skateboards. So if you're interested in any of our swag, follow link down below, tinyurl/RPG swag. That'll take you right there. And yeah, you can check out our stuff. So we got a lot of great t-shirts and things like that. So it's pretty awesome. Anyway, all right. So tonight we're going to start off about talking about trade agreements, and Spencer is going to be first up for that. So tonight, on our subject of trade agreements, what is your nation offering to trade, and what do they want for it? So let's cover that.
All right. So Kaizon, bit of a primer, is the nation of freed hobgoblins, goblins, and bugbears. And they have very little in terms of trade because most of their land is, as you can see, mountains and fairly wastelands. The primary agricultural part of Kaizon is potatoes. They're very hardy vegetable that can grow throughout most of the mountainsides. The entire west coast is heavily terraced to create more and more agricultural space. The little bit of flatland you see over there is very, very prosperous because of the volcanoes that have brought in all sorts of nutrients down the plains. The other major agricultural part of Kaizon is goats. Goats are one of the best animals for the region. They are able to go up all the mountains, and massive herds of them compete with the farms and pretty much everywhere you can find. They're also the perfect sacrifice to all of the mountain monsters that live all across the Dragon Claw Mountains. But
gotta have a scapegoat.
Yes, scapegoat. Yeah, so the goats are the perfect animal for both milk and cheese and meat and clothing. goats everywhere across Kaizon. A lot of herders. Now, the main thing though you see across Kaizon is we have a couple mines there in the Dragon's Claw Mountains. Those are some of the biggest mines in the mountains. There are actually more than that. The goblins realized early on that you can delve deep in these mountains and find rich veins of ore, primarily iron, but some silver, gold, and platinum has been found. And so all of the precious metals across Kaizon are guarded secretly by the Kaizon military. It's a very dangerous prospect to mine in Kaizon because of the volcanoes, because of the magma deep below, and the consistent earthquakes that crash a lot of tunnels. So the main thing that Kaizon likes to trade is not knowledge, but their developments. Kaizon has a great history of goblin tech-gineers. These are alchemists and engineers, somewhat magical, but primarily not, that have developed great mechanical wonders across Kaizon, such as the Bridge of Kais. And that is how they are working on the Kaizon Canal, building great digging machines so they can create and connect two waterways that didn't exist before. The Great Kaizan Navy is entirely made out of iron and steel, whereas most other nations use primarily wood to make their ships. Not here. By using the magma and great furnace of Mount Kairos, they are able to build these massive things of metal no one else is able to do. And that is what they are willing to trade, is these tech-gineer implements. Some of the most popular are self-lighting torches, near-endless lanterns, very precise and intricate astrolabes, and hand-powered drills. But for a even special price, they will send out their own goblin tech-gineers to help solve a problem you have. And so they're willing to go to a farmer and develop a better hoe or a mechanical implement to improve your farming implements instead. However, they will not let you know how to make it. They will always keep the knowledge themselves so they can build it at their factorums on their own back in Kaizon and then sell you the finished product later.
Nice. So basically it's like a factory farm in a box. We'll just bring it out to you, show you how it works, but we're not going to tell you how to build it.
We are not telling you how to build it. Yeah, all sorts of stuff they make. Anything that's metal, metallic, or intricate, they're able to build. If you really need like a major work done, you can hire some of the tech-gineers. You can hire an entire group of tech-gineers with their corresponding guard in order to get whatever you need built. But that is primarily what Kaizon does in trade. Now, things that they need, if you notice, there's not a lot of wood here. They also like to import all sorts of foods because they don't have much besides potatoes and goats. So they like to import all sorts of spices or aromatics, things from the jungles below especially. However, there's one part, they're very protective when it comes to trade. And so they like to think that they are the protectors of the peninsula further south of them, even though that may not be the case.
So how will this trade occur? Are we talking like a trade route anywhere or anything like that?
The biggest trade route? Yeah, the biggest trade route is there at the Bridge of Kais. So that is how you get most things through the land. But because the Navy is so active going through Neluth and the further south Zeluth, I believe. Yeah, Zaruth, which is the main military port. They are working to create this Kaizon Canal to increase trade even further. They know that there is a lot of trade going on in Lake Union and further north, and so they want to get as part of that trade if they can. At least that's what the Goblin Tech-gineers want to do, the more industrious arm of the Kaizon military.
Okay. So it's kind of almost like a Army Corps of tech-gineers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, a lot of different games and stuff like that. Tech, becomes a real commodity in world building and things like that. So, that's going to be interesting to see coming out of Kaizon. So
yes.
All right. Let's see. Well, why don't we move on to John and see what John has in store for us, and then we'll circle around and we'll cover a couple of other topics about tonight's trade subject. So, John,
right.
What you got for us, man?
So, a little bit above their, Jubilor.
Okay.
So basically, Jubilor is primarily an exporter of lumber. They do have some grain over on the eastern side. That's almost farmland. So they do trade some like wheat and whatever. But for the most part, they trade lumber, carefully harvested to not like they make sure they practice good forestry. The primary trading place for anything coming in or out of Jubilee is Mirthwall, which is there right at that bridge. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's a major city. It's essentially that's sort of like a city state within the main nation. It's kind of independent from the rest of the nation, but it is the most diverse city probably anywhere for a long range. They have almost every race you can think of. They're basically free trade, so they're very open. They have a very unregulated, except for certain illegal substances.
Okay.
They don't. Well, there are certain things like they don't trade slaves there, not openly
Right.
anyway. They don't trade in dangerous substances, and one thing that's unique about Jubilee, it's illegal for highly volatile substances that would maybe catch fire. Anything that's
Okay.
very flammable is not allowed to bring. It's not an import item for Jubilee because they really want a bunch of fires, obviously, since their whole nation's a forest.
Okay.
But yeah.
What are some of the things that Jubilee seeks, like as far as like trades with other nations? What kind of commodities and things like that do they like to import?
They're going to import crafting goods, or crafting raw materials. So leather, or they would date that. They would want precious stones in order to use with their jewelers. Precious metals, again, for anything that they may craft and that's kind of fancy. They're going to want gold or silver or something.
Okay. And
go ahead.
Who are you looking to trade with? I mean, you've got the Bridge of Kaizon, so obviously the nation of Kaizon.
I would say, Kaizon would be their primary trade partner for most of what they do, but they're pretty open. They're not interested in buying slaves or anything like that. So Humany would probably, I'm not Humany, Paradise would probably not be one of their major trade partners.
Sure.
But anybody that needs lumber and wants to come get it, because they don't really send a lot of trade out. They don't have a lot of, they have a navy, but it's a patrol the Wyvern Pass and the northern coast. So they don't really send a lot of trade vessels but they do have a lot of merchant houses that come through Mirthwall pretty regularly. And so those merchant houses will have lots of, vessels that come in and out to various ports all over the world.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that's not really something they control per se, but it is a place. It's a very important port because it's right there at the end of the river or the pass.
Mm-hmm.
And so anything inside there would bring their stuff to Mirthwall to sell it. And then any nations outside of, that would come just a little bit in down the pass to get to Mirthwall, and they could get most of what they need.
Okay. Let's see. One of the things that I didn't get to touch on with Spencer, we'll circle around to it and all that. What are your terms for trade? I mean, are you looking for long-term trade partners or short terms? For example, Kaizon has its core tech engineers. I'll just say it like that. Are things like that something that Mirthwall's interested in, or?
So yeah, I'm I would say, yeah, they would probably use some of the tech engineers to help improve Mirthwall, itself. They may need it to build like help because there's some mines that they could use mining technology kind of
Mhm.
over there. Mirthwall, just a little bit to the east of Mirthwall, those hills there.
Oh,
They,
okay.
yeah, that there's some mines there. Maybe they use some of their tech engineers for that. They certainly would trade for the metals that Mirthwall is willing to trade for in order to get lumber. I'm sorry that the Kaizon would be willing to trade.
Okay. Yeah, because lumber is not a commodity that they have. Like
Yeah,
Spencer was saying, things are mostly made out of ore and steel and things like that. So yeah.
Kaizon is always willing to trade with the elves, especially for lumber, and to share our technology in order to create safer workplace environments and mines.
Okay.
sounds cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
so
sounds
I would
good.
say those would probably be pretty long-term commitments.
Okay.
I mean, I don't see them bailing out of trade agreements with their neighbors.
Okay. Okay.
With the Shar Curry, I'm sure that we would trade lumber to them if they wanted it, or maybe crafted goods because I know halflings like cool stuff and they probably
Right.
like elven goods that
Oh yeah, elven furniture, hot commodity.
Sure.
So so yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. Okay. Well, let's circle around to Ian. Ian, sir, what do you
That's
have what is your nation and what are you guys offering?
well, we could do the Croquis down to the south of there. So, as Spencer has mentioned, that there is some type of rudimentary trade between these frog folks and the goblinoids, although it's a very light trade. It's not a heavy commerce because the Croquis themselves are ones that live in and of the land and have resisted a lot of the modernization of needing certain goods and relying on sustainable practices for harvesting and maintaining the lands, but it's only been more recently that the habitual damage that's done with the prolonged conflict of the worm cultists that are putrefying areas, causing them to go fallow, over hunting for things that the balance in Croquis is becoming disrupted. So they are starting to explore the realm of modern weaponry instead of using more organically produced. So part of the trade is in exchange for the spices, the flora and fauna of this jungle region. Um, Part of it's in exchange for grenades, different types of ordinances. There's still a hesitancy to really adopt them, and so there's a tenuous culture shift between needing to embrace and adapt with what other allies can bring versus eventually losing a long protracted war. The other thing too that maybe of particular appeal to are just those sacred herbs and plants and things that are used for either rituals for Kaizon or for augments to their black powder devices. But other than that, there's not too much that Koki themselves need right now. Although there is going to be a question in the future is if they're not able to turn the tide in stopping the blight in the jungles and such, that they may have their food sources naturally threatened as well. Unexplored yet, just since it's still a new area for us to develop, is that little peninsula area to the south of here. So that might be an area where either there may be a group encroaching on the natural habitat of the Croquis, or another area for people who have started a like a colony or something. So that'll be something explored later. But beyond that immediate trade route, there is no known trade. I know that also in discussions with the territory to the west of there might be, that I just haven't had a chance to dialogue um, with Jason about what type of interaction there would be. So that would be forthcoming.
Okay. So as far as Croquis itself, is it going to have any kind of port, like city or settlement? I see. I'm not sure what the black symbol towards the bottom of
Sure.
Croquis?
So those are cave systems. So they themselves live in subterranean caves where it is humid, it is hot from geothermal or thermal activity. So those are actually what their large cities would be. They haven't traditionally had any type of settlements on the surface, but rather live naturally in the land itself.
Right.
So they themselves don't have need for port since there's a little tent symbol that is to the east-east-north. That would be the point of contact and trade between kind of a mountain pass in the Dragonclaw Mountains to trade with Kaizon. But perhaps there might be a smaller port that's in that kind of peninsula towards the bottom for some other culture that is beginning to encroach on the Croquis lands.
Okay. You got to worry about that culture from across the Bay of Ghosts.
Yeah.
As far as,
I mean, that maybe if you want to have a little port there on that peninsula for some type of brooding conflict, that could be something that you could add.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can see that happening with Jeff. Oh man.
Yep.
So, okay. So, Spencer, your second region.
Yes. So the Golden Sea, it's just across the bay over there. Yeah, there we go. So once again, bit of a quick recap of what's special about the Golden Sea. It's an entirely grassland area. So you can see that there's some hills, but it's almost entirely grasslands. And that's why I call it the Golden Sea, because it's a golden grassland from Bay to Lake Union. And there is no rivers. There are no flowing waters here. The only way that water moves across the Golden Sea are through what we call the rolling reef. This is a unique biological occurrence where somewhat psychic colonies of reefs create circular bubbles and roll across the grass, bringing water and bringing life to the region. So that's kind of what makes it special. The people that travel across the area get all of their economic activity from the reefs and from the flocks of moa that they bring with them. So the main three things you get from the reefs that are valuable that they actually trade, because most stuff they get from the reefs are, fish, water, everyday necessities, not things that they really go and would bother trading with people. You can't keep it. The main three things they sell are pearl and mother of pearl. They train bands of otters, packs of otters, to dive into the reefs and grab the pearls for them and bring them back out. So you can find your little otter pet that rides around your shoulder and dives into the reef. Very cute. The second thing that they will gather and sell is specialized ink from different octopi and squid. So everyone needs ink, right? Wizards needs ink. People who write need ink. And so they will gather up octopi and squid and milk them for their ink. And so they're able to bottle that in crystal bottles and then sell that at Restholm and to the traders on the Western Trading Post. This is pretty special ink that can be used really to make really good scrolls and really good books. And the last one, this is kind of secret. It's a bit on the down part. So there's a lot of poisonous and venomous animals that end up, and other sea life that end up in the reefs. So we're thinking pufferfish and eels and maybe even jellyfish. And there are some of these reefs that are well guarded, and those poisonous and venomous animals are farmed for their toxins. And then the groups that keep these ones secret sell those toxins in the underground markets at Restholm and the different trading posts. So we got pearls, inks, and venoms and toxins, various poisons that assassins could use.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other major thing. There's one more thing. The other major thing that's sold is, of course, the moa themselves, the large flightless birds that everyone rides on. They're the main commodity, the main thing that keep the people moving with the reefs. They're food. They're not really shelter, but they're pretty with their feathers. And every year, there are two major auctions at Restholm and the Western and the Moa Trading Post where they sell the moa to the highest bidder. Most moas are brown or red or somewhere in between. But every once in a while, there are a few special moa that are either sold to very, very high prices or are only given to people who have done great deeds of service to the tribes of the Golden Sea. And those are the black moa, the white moa, and the most special, the golden moa. They're very, very rare.
Wow. Okay. I'm just having flashes of chocobos, man.
Yes, yes.
Yes, I love it. I love it. It's great. So how is the over here with the Golden Sea, the wall and all that is affecting your borders
Oh yeah.
as far as like trade? I know you have your watchtowers up.
Yes. So Paradise, I mean, where do you think they get a lot of their slaves? From the
Right.
tribes of the Golden Sea. And so that's why they set up these watchtowers. And so they have flares on them that they're able to warn people that slavers might be coming. And
Oh,
so
okay.
that's why those watchtowers exist. So yeah, they know that the people of Paradise, the Moa trading post is there because they might want the Moas for travel across the desert, but they know they need to be wary of them. So if they see large roving bands coming through, not allowed. Can't they everyone just runs away. They run to the Golden Sea. Unless you
Uh,
know where the reefs are going, unless you can follow the reefs, you
mhm.
ain't gonna survive for long because you're not gonna have water.
Okay. Wow. All right. So that sums up the trade for the Golden Sea area.
Yep.
Those that they trade with, I mean, are there any terms for the trade?
Yeah. So the people of the Golden Sea, their lives are nomadic. So the tribes don't need anything that's solid. So they always trade with the city of Restholm or the different trading posts for things that can always carry with them. So they're always looking for things that are small or essential or useful. So we're
Oh,
talking
okay.
like, yeah, rugs are a big thing. They're always looking for various sort of like rugs they could use to carry with small trinkets. So like the astrolabes of Kaizon are very important, so they can keep
Mhm.
maps of where they are, where they're going. Particularly useful weapons, knives, those sorts of things that can be multi-purpose tools are things they really like to have. Now, the people of Restholm, however, they'll trade for whatever. That's a whole city. That's a guild with everything in it. They get most of the stuff that the tribes of the Golden Sea want to have, and then sell their products to the rest of the world. So Restholm will take anything and you can offer it.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. That pretty much sums up for that. Let's see, John, what do you have for your second region?
It's further to the east. It's Humany.
Okay.
So Humany is a it's like a uh theocracy, and it's controlled heavily. It's they're yeah, it's not a free country. Basically the Humany has a somewhat of a market. There is a place called Trade Good. They're on the coast where they will
Okay.
trade, and then sometimes they'll send supplies down through that hilly region between Tar and Humany, yeah, down to that port. Um, yeah, occasionally they'll send trades down to there,
Oh,
but that's
okay.
it. That's the only two places they trade. They have lumber for trade occasionally. There is a lot of lumber being done in that darker forest there between Tar and Humany. Um, and they'll send the logs down that Brown River, which is why it has its name Brown River, because it's usually got a lot of logs in it, and piece of wood and whatnot. It makes it brown color. Humany is interested in buying slaves from Paradise because they use the slaves to do their farming. Um, it's almost all that grassland around that's not part of the forested areas is farmlands. So they have a
Okay.
lot of farms, and they use slavery in that. They've just now started experimenting with buying human slaves that will be, because they're afraid of giving any non-humans weapons, so they won't do that. But they will buy human slaves and put them as shock troops uh, during any conflict with Tar, because they're kind of at war with Tar. I mean, I guess there's a current ceasefire, but there's always some skirmish happening somewhere, and so they are using some of Paradise's soldier slaves, so to speak, just as an experimental thing to see how it works. all of these purchases of slavery would be happening through the church itself. And so it's all like controlled by the church. There are a few merchant houses that come to Trago to deal that are from somewhere else to, to maybe buy grain or whatever and take it somewhere. But for the most part, trading is done through the actual government. And they don't have a lot of free market.
Okay. What about your terms with like Paradise and stuff like that? You said the human experiment with them using them as shock troops and all that. Is there like a limited time that you're using this for?
That's kind of a limited time unless it turns out to work out really well. They've been trading with probably Paradise for a while now for farming slaves, and most of those slaves are non-humans because they don't really think humans should have to do all that, whatever.
Right.
So they're very racist, and it comes to like they think humans are the superior species, and we covered this in the past, but basically that's why they're at war with Tar, because Tar is basically all non-human.
Sure.
So,
okay.
And they took a lot of their land from Tar. Tar actually expanded out into the grasslands, as long ago as maybe 100 years ago.
So Humany pushed them back towards.
Pushed them back. Yeah.
Okay.
And most of Humany, at least the leadership, comes from a portal that's in Bastion. So that's like their holy city, but it's also where a lot of the people came from some other world. Oh, one other export they have in Humany is a special mineral called wrote this down. Gigamite. And Gigamite is highly explosive when you mix it with if you mix it with vinegar and saline solution, it will become highly explosive.
Oh wow.
So they sell that occasionally. For if they want something like expensive, they'll get rid of some of that in order to get it, because it's something no one else has. It actually comes from the other planet that's through the portal.
Right.
So it's not something that normally occurs in this world.
Okay. What about the other components like vinegar and of course saline? But I mean, do you import that in from elsewhere?
I would think they would have that, probably, most likely.
Probably wherever you sell it to, they would have it. Okay.
Well, yeah, or that. Yeah. So yeah, they don't necessarily mix it before they sell it. Because that would be kind of dangerous for traveling.
I was gonna ask about that. It's just like
it just falls overboard and just explodes the ocean. And just whoops.
It's like oops.
Turns out that it's pure sodium. So
I was gonna say
it's like that magnesium.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. Oh man. So Ian, what is your other nation? What you got?
So far west, we'll go over to the Shorned Isle here. So there is a port here. So this is going to be the major area of trade. So as a reminder for people that this island itself is just completely covered in ruins. A little bit of a hard to tell the overlap with the moorland with the various icons kind of in the center of that. Those are all ruined, various states of rubble from the size of fists to destroyed buildings. So the only place where there's actually any known civilization is this port itself. And it can go by different names. The doomed port, the failed ports are things because this has been an area where people have habitually tried to colonize and then were either mysteriously disappeared and was left vacant, or they were forced off by the prominence of all of these weird zombie-like creatures that look like people that have been encased in ash. If people have seen the bodies that are preserved by like Vesuvius and other types of atrocities. Going by Newport now, it's kind of as a tongue-in-cheek reference. The port itself is trying to import anything that it can really get its hands on because the island itself is oddly imbalanced as far as resources. There's plenty of plants and things that can be harvested in the moorlands. However, it is very highly acidic just due to the accumulation of volcanic ash that's in the soil, making it very difficult to grow any types of significant crops for actual sustenance. But there are plenty of woods. The forests to the right are more heavily harvested than the ones to the west because various plant creatures or things, there seems to be some type of hostility that repels people from there, which is where the secret circle of druids that are on this island are living and try to force people out of that region. Ultimately, they like to force everyone off, so they're trying to make this area as hospitable as possible and secretly either kind of push the Ashwalkers towards the new port or send various plant-like creatures to discourage them. Due to these hardships, it's very hard for them to have self-sustaining food besides fishing. So any type of preserved cured meats or tubers or vegetables that could stay a long time in storage. The challenge is, since they don't have a lot yet that they've been able to harvest the resources, their ability to trade back is significantly less. So they offer shares and futures in land development and encourage some people to trade goods with the promise of next time you come back, we'll have a house built for you based on local supplies. So they're really trading in futures, and it's a pretty risky gamble. The founder itself of Newport, rebuilding on the remnants of the previous supports, herself being a former pirate, really tries to pull heavily on former contacts, but it's still pretty strenuous and tenuous since this is a pretty remote island with very little to give. So if anything, trade is right now sustained by virtue of reputation of the port leader than anything. And they know that they need to figure out some type of resources they can get that's unique to here, or else the trade is going to dry up and the port is going to die again.
Okay. Well, one of the things I didn't get to ask Spencer and John is who handles the trade in the nation itself? I mean, is it like a merchants guild or are there any important figures or whatever that actually brokers these deals and things like that?
Well, for the Scorn Dial, that would really come through one person, which would be the port overseer, Zola Pouthras, who is formerly known as Black Saber, a pretty ruthless pirate who has retired. So she oversees all the trade, that because there really isn't much going in and out, so it can't be handled by just one individual.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
It would be a question, though, for Spencer if the Kaizon would want to even do any form of trade, given superstition or history of the island. Would any of Kaizon even get remotely close to this place, or do they give some type of sign of warding and just turn a blind eye?
That's a good question.
Yeah, the Navy of Kaizon definitely has nothing to do with the Scorned Isle. They try to keep people away from it. They don't want to trade with it. So the official position is that you do not go near the Scorned Isle for historical reasons. It is the home of the oppressor, so we don't go there. And also it is considered cursed after the explosion. However, what is the official position is not always the entirety of it. There is, I'm sure, a thriving black market between the port city of Neluth, I believe, and the Scorned Isle, because it is literally across the way. It's
the most important thing that I guess that would come out there for Kaizon would be, in the ruins there are still, ruined objects or artifacts that may or may not be inert, so that may or may not be of interest to some of your people. The challenge is finding the ruins, especially out in the moorland, that have subterranean layers that weren't destroyed in the cataclysm, that also haven't flooded with acidic water that damages most everything. So that is a dangerous expedition that people embark on, but life expectancy of those people are pretty low due to acid mords and zombies.
I could see merchant explorers who are interested in like just checking those ruins out, be willing to trade whatever like necessities that they need there, just for a chance, like you said, to have futures in order to like maybe have housing there so that they could have a base to go, of operations so they could then go in and check out those ruins.
That would be open to anyone that is interested in that. The new port itself is the safest area on the island because the edges are either different elevations or there are thermal activity still happening due to the previous magma vents from the destroyed volcano that was on the northeast section of the island. Or just ships seem to disappear on the far side of the island and no one knows why.
And that is designated by your big, that's, we said a crater that's there, right?
That's that scribble that Frank made.
Yeah.
That is the underwater crater for where a whole volcano erupted and sunk into the earth, along with most of the land mass of the island. And there are still steaming, bubbling geysers underwater from, again, just kind of like magma tubes and things in that region.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, Spencer,
Yes.
with Kaizon and their trade and their tech and stuff like that, where do you see Kaizon going with that? I mean, as you're setting up your trade, your industry, and things like that, but are there any favored nations that you want to trade with? I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but like you said, the Croquis, that is someone that you would definitely have a strong trade relationship with, right?
Yeah, the Croquis and then the Jubilor to the north, most definitely, because that's why the Bridge of Ties was built, was to facilitate that trade relationship. Jubilor further to the north, right? Because that's why the bridge exists in the first place. If there wasn't a relationship between these peoples, they wouldn't have built the bridge. But they've needed a way to get across Wyvern Pass, and so they would have created that bridge to facilitate that system of trade.
Okay.
An earlier question you had was who's kind of in charge of trade.
Yes.
And in Kaizon, there's the military is divided into 5 structures, and the master quartermaster, the grand quartermaster, is the person in charge of supplies and collects taxes, and he controls the bridge. They control the bridge of Kaizon, and so they would be the ones who facilitate most trade in and throughout Kaizon. Making trade deals. Any final trade deal has to go through the High Quartermaster.
The High Quartermaster?
Yes,
Okay.
they're one of the 5 leaders of the Kaizan military.
Right. Okay. John, is there a trade leader for your continent right above at Jubilor? Is there like a particular merchants guild or something like that?
There's not like a specific trade leadership. However, every one of the villages or whatever all have their own merchants, probably.
Okay.
So there are different personalities. I'll probably make up some NPCs. I haven't done it yet, so I don't
Sure,
have a
I'm
lot
just
written.
throwing this out there.
But yeah, they would each one of the villages, like Darkwood, it's a smuggling port, so it has some smugglers that would be willing to deal in the things that Mirthwall will not.
Some of those poisons from the Reese, right?
Maybe get some of the poisons. And Amberway deals in the grain stuff. They deal with trading, agriculture. Silverton, it's a place. It's sort of like a gold rush town because there's a lot of rich artifacts found in the Beltorian ruins north of there, and so a lot of that money is just coming in from adventurers who come to blow their gold and whatnot to trade those artifacts off. So that place is a very hot place for like all kinds of crazy stuff you can buy there.
Right.
Unity.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Unity. I don't really know that. I mean, they don't have all. I guess they would trade, but the main place, of course, Mirthwall, it trades with everywhere, anywhere in the world, and there are many trader houses that own property in Mirthwall, and a lot of these trade houses are kind of like, I would call them kind of like international trade houses. So they would be, trade houses that operate across a lot of different nations and probably have their own facilities at all these different nations. And they facilitate, goods that go from, long distances from, maybe all the way from halfway across the world.
Okay.
So those kind of places would have their, and in additional, of course, there's just local traders that deal with Kaizon and the Golden Sea. I'm sorry, is that what it's called? Golden?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, there would be a lot of just local merchants dealing with them that aren't necessarily part of those. But there's no like overall official, guild or anything.
What do your people use those natural toxins for?
Well, I guess that they would try to sell that on to anybody who might be interested. I really don't know. I'm sure that they would buy and trade. I'm sure somewhere within Jubilor, there's probably some nefarious people that would want them.
Oh, I'm sure.
Especially like maybe up at Silverton in the north.
Rotterdam.
Frank's like circling.
We got your poisons right here.
Yeah.
I mean, poisons are the foundation of medicine, so
yeah. So that's the cover story for why those exist. Yeah.
Yeah, it's medicinal purposes that you're importing. Yeah.
You just take the puffer fish and you suck the poison right out. It gets you nice and high.
There you go.
Nice.
For a brief moment.
Yeah.
Okay. So is Jubal your capital? Is that?
Yeah, that is a capital. It's very low populated for most capitals because that's where it's like an elven tree village.
Okay.
So, but most of the elvish leadership comes from there.
Mm-hmm.
I had this whole write-up about how it's all like divided up, but like most of these other cities have a governor that kind of reports to Jubal.
Okay.
Except for Mirthwall, because Mirthwall, like I said, it's a free, it's like a free state, or like it's its own independent city.
Well, here's a question. Like Jubal, does it have regulators and things like that? Does it tax these other other towns and things like that?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
They tax them to pay for the military because military is a big important thing in Jubilor. They have a lot of coastland to have to defend, so they have a lot of borders. So there are a lot of, in fact, in Jubilor itself, you're not a citizen and you can't vote unless you've served in the military. So it's a very militaristic. Other than Mirthwall itself, the rest of Jubilor is pretty militaristic in the sense of kind of how they're structured.
Yeah. Okay. What about tariffs? Are tariffs placed on any trade goods coming in or anything like that? Like, say, from a hostile nation or something?
I don't think so. I don't think they really.
Okay.
No, I don't think they do the tariff thing.
Okay.
I don't see them doing it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of possible scenarios of things that could come up as far as like trade relations and things like that. I liked how Ian, one of their things was the prospect of futures and all that, and how that could be a pretty risky investment in that.
Well, glad you pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today.
Exactly.
That's funny.
Okay. So yeah, with Silverton, with the ruins to the north and stuff like that, and with Ian's shores and stuff like that, with the ruins there and all that, do you see much of an industry coming out of for relics and stuff? And we kind of talked on it a little bit. I mean, are we talking like within these ruins or some kind of magical items being
And correct me if I'm wrong, but that far southwest coastline, I can't see the name of it. Right down.
Dali?
Yeah, Dali? Yeah. There's also a bunch of ruins in there that no one can get to, if I recall correctly. Okay. Yeah, there's a bunch of ruins in the forest as well. So it makes sense that there would be a very large economy of ancient artifacts in the region.
That would make sense. There could be a power as well.
Is full of them also,
Yeah, I can see where the trade in artifacts and all that could be almost like its own industry within itself.
Mm-hmm. And that could be a silent partner in funding like Newport that haven't explored yet. That could be one of the things that subtly keeps it alive.
Yeah.
Isn't there's a university somewhere too, isn't there? Is that in Sharkuri? If I remember correctly, that's one of the halfling places has a university. Frank is showing us if there is one. Aha, Bentucci.
Yeah, Bentucci is it. Okay.
Yeah, that would be a perfect spot for a university that could also finance some of these expeditions.
Right. Now let's bring
Jubilor Jones.
Jubilor Jones. There we go. Nice. Now, John, you have a portal like to other realms. In Humany. So how are you going to exploit that? Are you going to exploit that at all for like
they try to keep that under wrap? They actually don't mention too much. Like they don't say where that whatever I call it Gigamite comes from. They don't want anybody to know the origin. They don't want a lot of people to know about that. Oh, I forgot to mention also Humany imports lots and lots of silver because they have a lycanthrope problem. And so they use all that silver to make weapons in order to fight the lycanthropes.
Oh man. So where are your lycanthropes? Because
there was like a few years back, maybe I think it was like 25 years from current day. In the past, there was almost a coup where lycanthropes had infiltrated almost every aspect of the government. And that all got uncovered, and like lots of lycanthropes died, lots of humans died. It was a big war. It's like an internal civil war.
Wow.
But that put a big scare in the nation about lycanthropy. So now everybody wants silver everywhere. Everybody wants lots of silver.
Yeah, you got to have your werewolf.
And wolfsbane and all that other stuff.
Does that actually work against your version of lycanthropes?
Maybe. I guess it does. I don't know.
It would be the greatest conspiracy of lycanthropes if they actually weren't allergic to silver, and that's just how they got people to start digging it out for them so they can control a silver-backed economy.
Sure. Speaking of which, I mean, the lycanthropes from Humany, do you think they migrated over to Jason's nation that he was they were speaking about last week? I'm trying to think, where is it? Is it Medios? Yes.
It's pretty far away. Maybe.
Yeah, that's pretty far away. Yeah. But no, the silver trade and true silver trade is pretty big in Medios too. So wow.
And Humany also is one of the probably not very many nations that exports cattle and also beef, and they have a lot of livestock of other types too. So they export a lot of meats.
Okay.
Frank, what is the structure of the actual planet? So for example, if we're looking here on the east coast of Humany, what is the relative distance between that and the other side of the map?
We go around it?
Does it? Or is this like Forgotten Realms and like there's another continent series on the other side? Because like dried beef products and such would be fantastic for my area, but if we are stuck with this, like isn't going to really work. But if it's from here to here, going the
northern hemisphere. It was designed as a northern hemisphere continent.
So you're
everything else
a southern hemisphere.
There is a southern hemisphere. There's west. There's east.
Okay.
This is just one small part.
All right.
And we said that the equator runs at a diagonal. I believe we mentioned that.
Yeah, we
last show.
Last show we decided that this was on a tilt. So clearly, you've got the palm trees here, but then you have the harsh desert like Saudi Arabia and things of that nature. Australia is a little bit off, keeping in mind that this one, and this one all used to be part of the mainland.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
Cool.
we can do those other continents for like season 2, season 3.
Yeah, exactly,
sure, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I got nothing to do.
Of course, we don't have any other campaigns to run or anything like that.
This 3-hour tour became a 4-year trip now.
Pretty much. Oh no! Okay, all right.
The galaxy is on Orion's belt.
Yeah, right.
Yep. So, well, gentlemen, I mean, this was a great subject to cover because, I mean, a thriving economy is essential for world building. I mean, you got to have some kind of economy because, I mean, it's going to motivate your players, your characters, or whatever to begin and start their stories and things like that. Like we mentioned, the relic trade and stuff like that. Emerging. Possibly. So, but no, this has been great. Really love your ideas, and it's going to be really interesting to see how all this is put together towards the end of the year. I'm not sure what the topic for next time is. I'm sure Frank has it worked out, but yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see where we go from here. So, really excited about the Socium project. So, cool. Are there any things that you guys would like to see develop with the Socium project, like as far as like in the future or anything like that? We mentioned about season 2 or something like that, but
I think
problem cool is our season is a whole year.
Right, so. Exactly. I was thinking it would be cool to have like maybe 1 week where we just talk about different like rumors. Like these are not necessarily official information or anything, but these are like
whisper campaigns.
Yes, kind of like this is the hidden knowledge that of what's really going on, or at least might
get those adventure hooks in there.
Adventure hooks, yeah, eventually adventure hooks.
Yeah,
cults would be interesting.
Cults, yeah,
or like religious group. I mean, cult doesn't have to be evil.
I think religion it's on our main thing. It might be one of our topics we're coming up soon.
Yeah, I think so.
I know we deviated from the schedule.
Hey, I was right. It was September. Next? Yeah, religion September.
Okay. All right. That'll be interesting. Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, we deviated a little bit. Yeah. Foreign policy, economy, we kind of combine those into one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, no, there's legends underneath that. Nice.
Nice. So, well, folks, I think that pretty much sums up our show. Thank you guys for being here this evening. John, Spencer, Ian, I mean, everything that you guys are doing with your regions just looks amazing. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. So I believe our next episode of Socium would be in about 2 weeks, I believe. Some 3 weeks. So, but look forward to see what's gonna happen with that. So, but thank you folks for joining us this evening. Follow us on Twitter. Hit any of us up that has information about our socials. If you want to chat with me, you can follow me on D and Devious on Twitter. Ian, do you have a Twitter or contacts or anything?
Yeah, I've got a couple different things. So my main Twitter for gaming related stuff is Vorpal_Spork_GM. And you can also find a lot of the things I'm doing at WanMonCast, which is for Wandering Monster, my weekly Wednesday podcast where I run a live play, 8:30, 10:30 p Central. So nice. Every week run something different. Yeah.
Cool. What about you, Spencer? John, you have contacts if people have any questions or anything?
Do your best to find me. You're not going to find me.
You could probably find me easiest on the Murder Hobo Discord.
Yeah,
because I'm on
yeah,
that.
we do have our Discord. So if you want to join our Discord, it's great. We're always discussing topics for our campaigns, our oncoming one shots, and things like that. It's just a bunch of us just just geeking out on the stuff that we do here on Murder Hobo. Nerd, yeah. But yes, folks, follow us on YouTube. We do have our archive, so if there's any episodes that you've missed and all that, feel free to check them out. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe, and also hit the notification bell to find out whenever we go live. We've got shows coming up. So yeah, I think Thursday is Cred, I believe, everything we have coming in. And then I think we're trying to get a one shot going for Saturday. So if you're interested in playing in our one shots, hit us up at mhobo inc Gmail, or you can just tweet us on Twitter. Any of us, we'll get contacts and we'll try to get you in the game. So our games are very open. We're always looking for new players. So don't be shy. Just come on in. We'll set you up. So, but I'd like to thank our sponsors, Oddfish Games and also Pirate Dog Dice. They've been great. They've been with us for, forever. So Oddfish Games has Adventure Sense. They also have the Shine system, which is their writing program. And there's also the Kickstarter that got off, and that's a big hit, How to RPG with Your Cat. And they have a new Kickstarter that is about to start. So you can follow up on that on Oddfish Games. So anyway, so that's it, fellas. So let's do the big dating game kiss and wave, and bye, everybody.
Bye.